Hi everyone, this is Big Mama. I wanted to come on here and do a video for you of my design team challenge for Dear Julie, and I used her Poppy digital that you can get at her Etsy store. And in that digital she has beautiful side-by-side pictures that you can use for your journaling pages. And what she does is she has her own ephemera that she photocopies, and these are not digitally enhanced and changed, they're just resized for you. So these are some of the pages. Well, I think I printed all the pages, as a matter of fact, because I absolutely love this Poppy digital and plan on using it quite a bit. And I wanted to print it all so that you could see the pages, and I will go ahead and use them up because I really do enjoy them. I can just see this as a cover for a journal. And she also did this where she collaged around, and I used scraps off of the edges of mine that were like that. And so this is where you have some journaling pages, spots here on the page, and the ephemera that she laid down on that collage that she did. I'm pretty impressed with it. Then she also did some backgrounds and made them to where they are narrow tag, and you can trim down the edge and do the tags. Make pockets out of them. And are you tired yet? I'm not even halfway through. Aren't these incredible? I love all of that red. It's beautiful. It was a delight to work with and not at all challenging for me, except for reining back my red. I used the mahogany distressed ink, and you'll see that I did enjoy that. I took one of these and used them for a tab, so that's why there's a little hole in that one. And then here are some of the postcards that you will see throughout, and these adorable postcards here. And I love the fact that they are very versatile for other times of the year. So when you want to make your Valentines, they're there. If you want to do patriotic, you're going to be able to use it for the red, white, and blue. I thought it was great for the Christmas season, but I did not do a Christmas journal. She has where you can do an envelope, and you'll notice that I'm going to use this envelope here, a library envelope in mine. And I used a lot of these in the journal. And so for this packet, during the design team week, it will be on sale, but it's regularly $9.99, and it's worth every penny of that because look at all this versatility that you have. And I'm not even sure I printed all of it, but I printed most of it. So the journal I used, I found a book that was a burgundy cover, and it had the Art Deco on here, but my cover was bent to where it literally, it wasn't just bent like that, it was bent where it would do like that. And I wanted to keep this, and so a friend of mine, Terry Fitzpatrick, sent me digital that just worked perfect in here, and so I put the glossy accent over it and put it on a bookboard piece and glued that down with a tile glue, and it reinforced that bend in my cover to where it is now reinforced to where it doesn't bend anymore. I used a button here that I sewed on to the cover to use because I thought that it went really well with the Art Deco and also with the hardware that I put here on the corners. And then did 2 eyelets here and ran my seam binding through it. That penny pudge, if you don't know who she is, well, you need to go find her, because she is an amazing woman that will just inspire you so much. But she does the coffee dyeing and avocado dyeing of the seam binding, and so I buy that off of her. It saves me the time of having to do it, and it just works perfect in here, because I wanted it to look like something that you found in the attic and the bottom of Grandma's trunk. And so the way I like to do it is I tied the bow, but then I secure the bow to where you don't undo the bow again. So all you have to do is pinch your journal like this and slip that over the button, and that keeps it in place to secure it. And then the journal is only, I'll measure it for you because my memory, it fades during the day. So we've got 6.5 by 4. So you can see that it is a small size journal, but it is loaded with a lot of beauty. The book I used was Uncle Tom's Cabin, and this edition was a 1923 edition. So like I said, you can see the Art Deco design that they have here. Well, I didn't want to change that, and so the old yellow pages and that Art Deco I wanted to keep throughout the book. And so these are some fragile pages here at the very beginning, and you can see some of the integrity of the page is tender. So whoever gets this, please treat it with love. You might not want to give it to a toddler. But here is, I wanted to leave as much of the printing on here as possible. Julie's digital, and then this is a library card. And a friend of mine, Susan Taylor Brown, had sent me a lot of like the index cards and things that she had dyed, coffee stained, and so I have been using them a lot in my journals. And so if you see some, they're things that she has done. And so I do want to let you know that what an amazing woman she is too. It's like I've got Julie, who's amazing with these digitals. I've got Terry, who is amazing in sending me items, and then Susan, who has sent me so much. The generosity in this crafting community, I could spend another half hour of crying and calling out names of beautiful people. Penny Pudge, I've got Sarita, who has some dyed paper in here. But then there are those who inspire me to get into my grunge, and that would be Lori B. And so I have taken and put, this is the mahogany, aged mahogany ink, and then I used ground espresso, I used vintage photo, and did everything I could to make this look like it had fallen into the poppies. And so you can see this is, I did a belly band up here, and then this is Julie's digital. And I tried throughout, wherever the poppies were, to put a little bit of gold in the middle of the poppies throughout the entire journal. So you'll see the gold here, and you'll see it up in here. And I tried to edge the digitals as whenever I could think of it. I went around the edge of the digitals. Well, this one's not picking up that. There it is, of the gold too, because I wanted that to be a continual theme throughout this whole journal. And then I wanted to leave here the copyright date of the book with 1923. But I did take a piece of tape and pull off where it says Uncle Tom's Cabin, because I don't want that to be the theme. I want the poppies to be the theme. And so as much as possible, I tried to remove that. And then this is her digital with a piece of book page here, and I sanded it so you can really feel that texture. And I wanted to keep the numbers on the table of contents on there, because we all love our numbers. And so that was her digital. And then here is the digital where it was a side-by-side that I took and cut down, and then this, it was longer, and so I cut off the bottom and then laid it over it so that I could keep the lines and everything on here. But I also have these little rub-on dots that are here, so they're not brads, they're little rub-ons that I put on there to make it look like it has been secured with brads. And then this is also her digital here that I turned into a journaling card. And this was a scrap that I had off of a page that I had used, and so rather than trim this off smaller, I just folded that in and added that scrap to the top of it so that that would bring in the colors and everything of the digital into the storyline that you're going to be writing. Here is out of a book page that I had been given by Susan, and so I just turned that into a journaling spot here that we call these tip-ins. And so I put that in there. And then I like to go over the page with tape. And so I went over it with tape and pulled the words off. And so now you have this as a journaling spot. This was a music page that I had in one. I've got a lot of old music books, and it just said yesterday's, and I thought how wonderful that this is a journal that you want to put those old stories that grandma told or something that happened in your childhood, and so you want a legacy journal here, and it's of yesterday's. And so I put that on a coffee dyed card that Susan, that's going to be the last time I'm going to throw Susan in the mix, okay? Susan's throughout here, all right? That's not the last time. I can't help myself. But this is ground espresso and vintage photo, the distress sprays, and on the music paper to give it that old grunged look. And then I put a napkin over the top of it, and again inside the flowers I want to put that gold. And then I took a square of her digital, and so I ran the square up and over to create that edge on both sides so that you've got those corner tucks that you can use. And then this is a picture that Terry had sent me that just went really wonderful along with Julie's Poppies. And this is a napkin that I used on here, and I also put on these two pages, it's the brown packing paper that you get a lot in, I order in coffee, and so this came in with my Prairie Fire coffee, but it also, I get some packaging like this in other boxes too. So it's the brown packaging paper. And then here was out of one of my paper pads. I loved the color to use in here, and then I put it on top of a piece of wrapping paper, and so I made this pocket here, and Julie has a thing that she calls a messy bow, where you take and wrap your thread around your fingers 3 times, and then 2 times, and 3 times again, and you get yourself a messy bow. And so that's what I use for the tab. And this is a big mama dyed paper, eco dyed, and I left the words of the book in here. Then on this, it has more music paper. It was probably a scrap off of yesterday's. And then this is a napkin, and I had a book, the paper pad here, scrap, and then this is Julie's digital that I put glossy accent on, and then this card stock here, I bent it down to just be a little notebook, and took my scraps of paper and sewed them in pamphlet style here, only onto the back side, not into the seam, so that they would fold down and you'd have all of this writing space here for that notepad. And then I'm just keeping it closed with one of those little Tim Holtz paper clips and putting it in that pocket. And you can see where I got a little bit of crazy throughout this book with doing a splatter with the gold. So you'll see that on a lot of pages. This is a piece that I had out of rice paper on some old ledger that I have. Then here I got a roll of rice paper at Hobby Lobby, and I decided to just take my inks and make my own poppies along the edge. And so that is Big Mama art right there. And did then the gold in the inside there. And I hope you can see that gold splatter. This is a butterfly picture that has been put on tracing paper over the top of book page. Julie's digital, and what I did with the digital is this is reinforced on top of paper and cut out then. This part is glued down, this is just glued up around here, creating this top part to be a top tuck, to where this coin envelope can then slip up inside there. And it can really go up. And so that's a nice little tuck spot there. And then this is a notebook page that I took the spiral out of and left the holes intact. And then I took the gold thread and ran about 3 pieces of gold thread up through there. Well, it was 3 pieces. And then I left the thread sticking out and just secured that with a drop of art glitter glue to make sure that it didn't pull out any further. And added my, the red here, like I said, is that aged mahogany. And then did some splatters with the gold. And this is, I really got carried away with my inks, but love it or leave it, girls, love it or leave it. I love my grunge. And I think that this just feels like it fell into the poppies. And here's another one of the book pages. And yes, this one I took and put tea bag over the page, so you can really feel that tea bag. I love it. This is some more of my rice paper, and I found a song that was called The Butterfly. And so I used it, and that's a butterfly rub-on and some napkin that I put on there, and used, Julie has a digital that is about how to do your fancy ribbons, and so I did that on here. So be sure and look up her fancy ribbon things that you can do. They're pretty cool. And I am, this is a scrap, and this book page had 2 holes here, and so I just took a scrap of green material and did some French knots here out of gold thread and some green to do my vine with my little daisy leaves on there. And digital. This page, inked it up and then sanded it down to make it look really, really old. This is Julie's digital here. And I like when I sanded it, because there are several pages glued together, I like how it pulled up the different layers of those pages. And then here is a pocket that I made, where this is Julie's digital, and I cut out the center of that digital, and it had a butterfly here, and so I took another one of that digital and cut out the butterfly and put a glossy accent on the butterfly so that you can feel the dimension, put plastic behind the hole, put another one of her digitals down on the paper. Then when I put this down over it, I glued it securely. So that is all solidly glued to the book page. And then I created the pocket here, and where Julie's digital goes in, that little baby then goes inside here and shows up inside that picture. And this is where I told you that I took one of her little miniature letters and I turned it into a tag there, or a tab there on the edge, so that you can pull that out and have a journaling spot. And put napkin on here in the red and reinforce this seam with some of the, I've got some Christmas ribbons in the red that I thought really worked good in here, and added the bling. This is a digital that is just, you pull that off and you're going to have a journaling spot that I just paper clipped that in. So that's a journaling spot there. And with the paper clip, I just took one of my old buttons and some old thread and went up through there, sewed the button onto the red piece here, and then secured it to their paper clip so that it doesn't come off. And another grungy page, and this one I have a tea bag on there and the gold splatter. This is from an Edith Holden book, and so I made this corner tuck, not corner tuck, but a tuck. And then this is Julie's digital here, and a part of her digital here, and some of my music paper there to create a collage, and some scrap that I had to create a journaling tag. And then this is a digital of hers that I had a scrap of material here that I put on it. And then this is her digital stamp up and put on. This is actually a piece of, you know, in your book you have different pages that aren't printed on, and so I had a book that had some pages, and so that's what this paper is. And so I glued the digital onto book page from what I tore out of here, and so I have two pieces of that, and then this plain book page on there to create that, to give it that feel. And then again, you see that beautiful gold pin inside the poppies. And when I say that I put tea bag on there, I don't glue the edge straight. I just kind of put some on there, let it dry, and then I go back, and when I rip the edge of that tea bag off, you can see how it is just all tattered in there. And I put my inks on and everything and sanded, and you get that feel that just is almost like velvet. And it takes the ink really well. I have where I have taken tape and pulled off the words, and you can see that the book page takes your ink just fine. So don't be afraid to go on and write on these pages. The feel of that paper underneath the side of your hand as you're writing, it's almost like going to the spa or something. It just feels so good. And this is Edith Holden, and I wanted to add, I didn't want to lose this little purple flower, so I fussy cut it out and put it down with the poppy, and did a little bit of, this is Winka Stella that I put on it to give it that little shimmer. Yep, pushing it the wrong way, come on. And then I took a plain white envelope, then used a napkin, and this was the edge of the napkin I put up here. This is Julie's digital. I fussy cut around the butterfly, and the napkin is here, and then some of the napkin here. And you know how you've got that sticky spot I wanted to cover it up so that this doesn't keep getting stuck. So I put some more of the napkin along the edge there. And so what's holding it down is the wings of the butterfly, like that. I like adding these little letters that are not written on so that you can write your little letter to that grandchild that you haven't seen, or that family member that hasn't had a chance to get to know you. Write that special little story or blessing to them in those letters and leave a legacy letter for them. And if you don't want to write one, have your mama write one or your grandma write one and put in there. This, the integrity was pulling apart a little bit, so I used washi tape here and then glued that down with art glitter glue so that it doesn't move, and secured that page right there with that. And this is no tea bag or anything. This is just the book page where I pulled the tape off. And I pulled the words off with tape. And so you can see the feel of that page. Can you hear that? Can you feel that? That is just yumminess right there. Here we go. And a little bit more of my red on here. And this is Julie's digital. And on the back of the digital, I put some of that napkin from the one up front there, that little red napkin. So I put napkin on the back side and then did a fan fold on the edge there and put her messy bow technique. And the way I secured it down is I just did a hole punch through those folds and ran that thread up through there and tied it, so that is how it is held down. So if you wanted to use this as some kind of a tuck up here for just a little note or something, it's not glued solid down, so there's something that can be placed up underneath there if you wanted. And then I have another journaling card that goes in here, and on the back of here I also use napkin, so that adds a little bit of interest on the inside of that page. I'm trying to put these back in as I go because girls and boys, Big Mama has a little bit of trouble remembering where things belong. And so there's another, the pages, that's just the book page. And just book page. I have to double check that one. Yeah, just book page and ink. And then over here is the digital. I sanded around that one really good. That's the reason why I was confused. Oh, and on the digital here, I made it a tip in too, and added this and added the washi tape on it to create interest. And then this is some more of that rice paper that I painted on, and I put some plastic underneath it to create a pocket. And Julie's digital. And then here is Julie's digital, and it says Happy New Year's underneath this. And so I put this on to cover that up because I don't want this to be a seasonal book. And then this opens then here for another of her digital. And it is also that little treasure box where you can put a bundle of letters if you want. And so I put that in there. So that's the treasure box. And you can see where I used the gold around the edge is that the gold embossing powder to secure that edge there. And then there is the back of our journal. And it closes up real easy. I'm glad nothing fell apart while I did this one. I'm thinking it's so good. So, design team has been a lot of fun. I've got one more time and then she's gonna poop me, I'm sure. But I hope that you will go and get this. I know that when we buy the digitals, and we're going to print them, but you've got them then in your computer to print. You can make greeting cards. I can take and put this in the mail and send it as a postcard. I can put you know, them on the front of a cardstock and make greeting cards. There's so much that you can do with her digitals, and so I hope that you will go. Did you see that? Go and check it out and enjoy creating. These are wonderful digitals for you to be able to do that. This is Big Mama, and I sure hope that you enjoyed this. Bye bye.